Many believe that within the next decade or even sooner, the Chinese yuan may become the next global reserve currency. Recently, China has been placing a significant emphasis on establishing its currency internationally through focusing on oil and natural gas trading. While there are obvious obstacles that the yuan would have to overcome in order to gain that status, the Chinese government is actively pursuing the goal, whether we like to hear it or not. The latest blow to the value of the United States dollar was dealt just a couple of days ago when China completed its first trade of LNG, liquefied natural gas, in the Chinese yuan. This is yet another step toward challenging the petrodollar that has been in place for more than 50 years. What I thought was really surprising is that this trade wasn't with the UAE, Iran, Japan, or Australia, the countries that are China's biggest partners in terms of trade that is executed in the yuan. The LNG trade was between Total Energies, a France-based company, and the Chinese National Oil Company. One of the main reasons why the United States dollar has become such a strong currency is because countries around the world have had to own dollars in order to purchase oil. And so the agreement between the United States and the Saudi Arabia that was made in early 1970s made the dollar extremely strong and guaranteed stable and ongoing demand for the American currency, which in turn served as a guarantee of its powerful status for the next 50 plus years. However, now that the UAE is open to accepting the Chinese yuan, we will see the demand for the dollar slip, especially as more and more countries are falling into the multipolar world reality and are presented with an alternative to the United States dollar, the yuan. Those who have been looking for ways to distance themselves from the United States and the currency now have another option. In a moment when the world is going from unipolar to multipolar, the actions of heads of state are far more important than the actions of central banks. That is because heads of state lead, their actions affect inflation, and central banks merely follow by hiking rates to clean up. Central banks will be behind the curve in this game, and if investors read only the speeches of central bankers but not statesmen, they will be even more behind the curve. The multipolar world order is being built not by G7 heads of state, but the BRICS head of state. This is according to Zoltan Pozer's report. BRICS, of course, stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, undeniably, China is leading the way in this group. It seems to be doing all the right things to create that multipolar world where it would become one of the leaders. First came the visit to Saudi Arabia in December of 2022, then another visit to the Russian Federation in late March of 2023. In Saudi Arabia, not only did China successfully create a bridge between the UAE and China that resulted in the UAE seeing the benefits to the Chinese yuan, but China also brokered a restart to the UAE-Iran partnership that's undeniably a major issue for the United States as it further challenges its presence in the Middle East, particularly in Syria. Zoltan Pozer, an economist who until recently was a managing director at Credit Suisse, shared a really interesting perspective. The special relationship between China and Russia has a financial agenda to it, and what President Xi and President Putin say about the future of money, that is, the future they envision, matters for the future of the United States dollar and liquidity in the US Treasury market. Their actions are forging something new. Bretton Woods III is slowly taking shape, and in light of developments to date, my motto for Bretton Woods III, our commodity, your problem, remains apt. President Xi's visit with Saudi and GCC stands for Gulf Cooperation Council, by the way, leaders, marks the birth of the petro-yuan and a leap in China's growing encumbrance of OPEC plus oil and gas reserves. With the China GCC summit, China has claimed to have built a special relationship not only with the plus sign in OPEC plus, which as we all know is Russia, but with Iran and all of OPEC plus. Why is this important? What does it mean in simple terms? Well, in simple terms, it means more inflation to the West as the value of the United States dollar collapses due to a much weaker demand for it. There are three top importers of oil and natural gas in the entire world. They are the United States, China, and India. Now, we already know that China and India are part of the BRICS deal. Both are very much interested in moving away from the United States dollar. But now that China and the UAE are in agreement, they can trade oil using the yuan. The role of the United States dollar in the global economy will get weaker and weaker over time as the result, unless, of course, the United States defends it in a way that serves to boost its industrial military complex, which means more global trade partners making purchases in US dollars. This new economic order, if you will, between China, Saudi Arabia, and the United States in terms of its currency is bound to have a major impact on us. China offered the UAE something that the United States wasn't willing to, which were investments in the Middle East, including the possibility of a joint exploration of the South China Sea. None of this will be funded with the US dollars, of course. Now, taking a step back, like it or not, China truly made every effort thus far to set up its renminbi for success. Back in 2018, China launched a renminbi-denominated oil futures contract on the Shanghai International Energy Exchange, and since 2016 and 2017, the renminbi has been convertible to gold on the Shanghai and Hong Kong Gold Exchange. And that might just be one of the biggest advantages that the Chinese currency has over the fiat dollar. You have to agree that convertibility to gold beats any day of the week convertibility to anything else. What's even more concerning is President Xi, during one of his recent trips, stated that China, already the largest buyer of oil and gas from GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council countries, will buy even more oil and gas from them in the future, and it wants to pay for it in renminbi over the next 3 to 5 years. This term, next 3 to 5 years, means that GCC countries by 2025 will be paid for their natural resources that they ship to China exclusively in renminbi. So that gives you a timeline of when, unless something comes to light that we're not aware of just yet, of when the United States dollar will see the biggest value drops in the near future.